Hey, welcome back to Reading the Bible Together. Pastor Matt, joined again today by Megan. We're jumping into Mark chapter 5. Then we'll ask those questions. What's going on in the text? What does it mean? And what are you going to do today? We love when you drop your comments down below. But Megan, I'll let you take it off chapter 5.
Okay. They went across the lake to the region of Gerasenes, where when Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send him out of the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed.
Wow. And when Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was beside the sea. And then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." And Jesus went with him. And a great crowd followed him and thronged about him. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians and spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. And she had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she had said, "If I touch even his garments, I will be made well." And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body and was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garment?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before Jesus and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." And while he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." And he allowed no one to follow him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. And they came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and Jesus saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had entered, he said to them, "Why are you making such a commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But he put them all outside, and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and went into where the child was. And taking her by the hand, Jesus said to her, "Talitha cumi," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And immediately The girl got up and began walking, for she was about 12 years of age. And they were immediately overcome with amazement. And Jesus strictly charged them that no one should know this. And he told them to give her something to eat. Wow. Mark chapter 5, two very powerful stories, along with a third intermixed in, and a fourth. Which one of these is sticking out to you this day?
Well, a couple things actually. One, I feel like the faith in healing. I feel like a lot of this scripture can be like taken out of context
yeah.
and used to say, well, if you have enough faith, then you will be healed.
Yeah.
And it's not always possible this side of heaven. And we have to remember that it's not about our faith doing what we need. You know, it's not our faith that's healing us, our faith in Jesus, and continually putting our faith back in him. Whether we're going to get healed this side of heaven or not is the important thing.
That's a great reminder.
And I also wonder, a lot of these end with, he gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this. I wonder if they really followed his directions.
Right,
or
yeah.
not. I don't know. We won't know, but that
Yeah.
was just a question I
For
had.
sure, for sure. I love it. I'm partial to Jesus asking questions. Because I'm always reminded, like, Jesus doesn't ask a question for his own knowledge.
Right.
He always asks a question for someone else. And so when he asks the demon, what is your name, right? He knows what's going on. He wanted everybody else to know how serious the situation was. When he asks, who touched me? Jesus knows who touched him. He wanted the opportunity, right, for that woman to step forward boldly in faith. Her faith had already healed her, and Jesus was inviting her to proclaim that faith. And then Jesus coming up to the house, why are you making a commotion and weeping? Right? He's asking the question because he's inviting them to think differently about what they're experiencing. So I just love anytime Jesus asks a question, I'm like, oh, he's asking it for me, not for him.
Right.
You know. But what does it mean for you, kind of in that faith angle? What does it mean for you reading Mark chapter 5 today?
Yeah. So in Momco this week, we studied Psalm 46 a little bit and talked about God's power and the things that are in our control and that are in God's control.
Yeah.
And God's power is obviously very evident in these scenarios, and it just made me think about his all-powerful ability to heal us and to save us. We talked about the mountains and the sea and how those were such scary things to people of these times. They weren't talking about taking a selfie on top of the mountain or getting in a boat for a cute picture. It was a very scary thing, and how he has control not only over those big things, but over our enemies and our lives. And even the littlest things that we might think are trivial, he cares about. I'm
always jealous of Momco because I want to go to Momco, but I am not a mom.
We have very good breakfast.
So good, all right? I'll say this. I am impressed by the response of people, kind of like to connect what you said in the first, like when Jesus says, don't say anything, like what do you do? The people know this story, obviously, because Peter, James, and John were there, and Mark gets the story from Peter, but wow, the guy at the Decapolis, right? Like, he had received such a great gift. He was unhealable. He had been bound so many times. Like, people had given up on him and left him with nothing. And people saw the absolute change and just marveled at it. And so he who is forgiven little loves little. He who is forgiven much loves much is something Jesus says later to a Pharisee.
Yeah.
And I just see just phenomenal love here, shared from Jesus, received and shared.
Yeah.
But Mark chapter 5 is in the books, but not what you're going to do. So Megan, what are you going to do today?
I'm going to keep taking things that are out of my control and putting them back at God's feet for his control, because he's all powerful. I'm going to plug Momco one more time, but we did a prayer exercise with that this week, and it was a beautiful experience. So really taking time to think about what you're holding on so tightly to and giving it back to the power of God.
Guys, that's a really good one. You should do that too. Even if you have something else you're going to do today, you should also do that one. Because I'm not even going to give you mine anymore. I'm just going to take Megan's.
Oh, great.
No, for real. Like,
Okay.
this is one of the best parts about reading the Bible together,
Yeah.
right? Is that we affect one another, and how many things in my life are just outside of my own control and cause me daily grief. I don't have to have grief about any of those, and so I'm going to steal Megan's today. I'm going to invite you to do the same. And if you're stealing Megan's today, tell us in the comments that you're stealing Megan's, because that way it'll help our numbers and more people will read the Bible together.
Yeah.
That's
or,
awesome.
or if there's a way we can pray for you,
Yeah.
maybe reach out. And if you're willing to share that, we would be honored to pray for you.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Megan, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.